serious counseling from someone I do know who's a demonologist before I would delve into that. I like my life the way it is now. I'm very happy. Everything's okay. My husband's finally in good health, and I don't want that to change.
I hear that. I feel that.
If it's for personal gain, there's always a price to pay, and I do believe that. So I have not delved. Have you ever delved in that?
No, I study a lot about demons. I don't know why I'm fascinated by them, but good and bad is just I'm fascinated how many different pantheons there are, and what different people use them for. How they look at them from Christianity to Muslims to Persian.
All religions.
Yeah, and so.
I'm one of those people that thinks that every religion in the world focuses on the same God. It's just how it appears to them in a different name. You've got your God, you've got Allah, you've got your Buddha. I think it's all the same guy, and that's just how I think. And like demons are demons. Why would they be different anywhere else? But like King Solomon did that quite a bit.
Yes, deadly two demons. He used the cedar ring to control them. But there's the actual book on each one of them.
Oh, I own it.
okay, yeah. All right, yeah, see? Yeah, I mean, people forgot about that. Humans worked alongside them.
Yeah, they did. And my favorite book in the world is Devils and Demonology, written by Katie Boyd. And that's the demonologist that I was talking about earlier. She's in New Hampshire. It is Katie's wife, Becca Boyd, who is one of the most talented psychics I've ever worked with in my life. And most accurate. It's crazy. And Katie, in Katie's book, it's like this thick, and it lists all their names, their ranks, everything you could possibly know about them. And it's just such a great book. It's kind of creepy, but I highly recommend it. And that would be the book that I referenced, but that would be my first phone call as a Katie and say, look, I might be thinking about doing this. And I kind of know the first thing she's going to say is like, bitch, don't. You know what I mean? Like, just don't.
You know what? No, Shannon, it's a trip on some of the stuff that's out there. Like, I mentioned this before, but I think you can follow me what I'm about to say. So, like in The Exorcist, you remember how they used Pazuzu for the womb. Now, that demon is not a Catholic demon. That's a Mesopotamian demon, but normally they would use that to counter or harm the spirit that is trying to harm the baby. So somebody would use him as a greater force, and so they had to know his invocation, his parents, everything he had to summon him. So I thought it was ironic. Nobody really noticed that they mixed it up like nobody would know, but they actually it wasn't a Catholic demon, at least by the classification, which leads, like what you said, a demon is a demon. And the rabbis said to Jesus, they said, hey, look, you use Beelzebub to go ahead and calm these other demons down. He said, no, I didn't. I did it my own. So they had a debate about that. And then what you said about the demons, if it's one God, no matter what you call him, even in the Bible itself, I believe it's in Matthew 58, like from 7 to 28, you can find in verses 7 to 28. He says, no matter what you call me, when I contacted Jacob, the ancients, your grandfathers, and before them, when they looked at the moon, the stars, or they saw birth, whatever the hell they saw, when they called it, whatever the hell they called it, it was me they were talking about. That's what he was telling them. So he actually acknowledged that, hey, whatever you call me by in ancient times or to now, so there was a record to that.
You're very knowledgeable. I like that. There's not a lot of people that know their demons. Yeah, I very much believe that. And I will tell you that when I delved into what could possibly be the reason for the haunting in my childhood home, the portal that was opened by my great-grandfather there was a demon summoned, and both Katie and Becca would not reveal the name to me other than it started with a B. They would not. They said just speaking the demon's name is dangerous enough. And I'm like, all right, like I kind of know a couple B demons. And I felt the fear in that childhood home one of the creepiest things, I actually missed school a couple of days because of this, is at nighttime when my mother forced me to live in the basement of the home, which is the worst thing you can do to me. Yeah, I mean, she had a baby, and the baby needed to take over my room, so there goes Shannon downstairs. And, I grew up hearing footsteps from the downstairs coming upstairs all the time, so again, that was the worst thing you could do to me. But I would hear voices down there, and they would be speaking male and female voices, and they would be speaking in different language. And it was like a chorus of voices, like a ton of them. And then the only thing I would understand is my name. And this one thing happened when I was in Wilmington, Delaware, at a haunted mansion. I was in a room. A couple weeks later, a couple called me from Baltimore saying, "Were you in this one room doing a ghost hunt, like asking EVPs?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "You got to hear this." And it was the most incredible EVP I've ever heard. And I used it in my college lectures to scare the absolute living shit out of my audience. And the playback was men and women, a chorus of voices, except for it was English, I could understand every word. And they said, "Shannon Sylvia, we don't want you here." And then you would hear inaudible, and then something like, "Where is she?" And then it was just like, oh my God. They literally said my first and last name, clear as day. "We don't want you here." Like,
And Sylvia, I've actually had EVPs like that, where it says,
crazy.
"Yeah, Paul, we don't want you here," and stuff like that. Do you do cleansings for demonic homes?
No, I don't do cleansings.
Okay.
I am not qualified to be any part of shamanism or medium or anything like that. I'm just a researcher, ghost hunter, skeptic. My dad is a chemist, and I was raised by science.
Yeah, Shannon.
And so, yeah.
Like some of the demonic cases that we do, I do a Roman Catholic house blessing, and I learned it from two priests that used to sit there, smoke cigarettes, and we used to talk. I'm not ordained, and I would say about 80% of my cases where I do a cleansing are successful. And a person who has a demonic attachment, I give them a full submersion baptism.
Sure.
And when I started doing this, I was doubting myself. I said, "Well, will I be successful in doing this?" And I started doing it, and I was. So I continued to do it, and I love it when they go. The client will say, "Are you ordained?" No, not at all. But I'm good at what I do. Yeah.
Hey, if it's free of charge, it's kind of a bonus when you're there. I don't have anything bad to say about that. I had my own condo in Leominster that was haunted. The old schoolhouse was blessed by Keith and Sandra Johnson's numerous times. And they're not ordained, or they may be, but it just made me feel a sense of peace, even though it didn't stop the activity. But I tell people all the time, just like, you have the power, just you say stop. You say stop bothering me. You say you're allowed to be here with me, just don't scare me anymore. I always tell people you're in control. And a lot of time that does work. And I don't need to change the subject, but I found a picture of my great-grandfather. So, this was my great-grandfather, Frederick Sontag. That's when he was younger, and he was a kind of like a local Houdini. He used to he broke out of the Fitchburg, Massachusetts jail. And as he got older, this was him. He used a crystal ball and wore a turban and the whole getup. This was taken in the late 1800s. And this is probably one of the older ones. As he got older. So that crystal ball is in possession of my dad's first cousin in Florida, and they will not relinquish it to me. Sadly.
Let's see, Houdini was around, what, in 1930s, or? Am I wrong about that? Phil, you're good on history. Was Houdini?
Yeah, this was, let me see what the date on that photo is. So it says Brindo, the famous mental telepathist. There's no date.
I'm wondering if he competed with Houdini.
Good question.
Huh.
It's a really good question as to what date that photo was. I'll have to ask my dad for more dates.
Harry Houdini died in 1926. He was born in 1874.
Imagine that. So yeah, he could have literally in the late 1800s, could have been around the same exact time.
Wow.
So he was pretty well versed in his stuff, you know, it was pretty cool.
That is
And
cool.
the medium had actually told me during that same session when she told me that he had opened a portal, she said that he was actually very proud of me for sticking to my beliefs regardless of our Catholic family and for doing what I do. He was actually very, very proud of me. So that was kind of cool. I mean, I never got to meet the guy, obviously, but I would have loved to have.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It is. I mean, whose great grandparent was a psychic?
Yeah.
Okay, my printer's just printing something behind me.
What'd you say, Phil?
Well, I want to know what's about to print out of that printer. But I was just wondering how far, how extensively have you researched your grandfather's, or is it your great
There's
grandfather?
not much out there. So my husband must be renting a car. So
okay.
he must have sent something from downstairs.
Oh my God. Oh.
Maybe it's a sign that you need to take a road trip.
No, it's a sign he does. I'm sorry, so that was nothing paranormal, but he sent something to the Wi-Fi to the brand. I've tried. Huh?
I said, damn, we wanted it to be.
I wanted it to be. I'm like, come on. It's printing his itinerary. So I have tried to research my great-grandfather. There's nothing out there. Ancestry.com obviously links me to him. There are pictures of him, like normal pictures in suit, in a necktie and a hat, that my family members have uploaded, but I can't find any link to him at Whalen Park, although I have a lot of local family and friends that remember him performing there. Whalen Park, I want to say, closed in maybe the early 90s. So,
have you researched the spiritualism movement in the United States? Because I'm just wondering if you tried to look down that rabbit hole, if you might come across your great grandfather that way. I only say that because there's a small town about an hour from me here in Florida called Casadega, and it started off as a spiritualist camp, and that whole town is owned by spiritualists. You can't buy property there unless you're a member of that community. And so you can't be in that town after dark. There's only one hotel in the town. There's one restaurant in the town. There's a spiritualist/ghost museum with haunted objects. There's a gift shop. There's a room for meditation. There's a little spiritualist hall. You can talk to mediums all day long if you like. You have your choice of them and all that. But it's been around for over 100 years. And it's one of the last remnants of what was absolutely a huge movement in this country, around a little over 100 years ago. And Harry Houdini, most people know that he went out of his way to try to destroy that movement.
He did, sadly.
Yeah.
Now, what state is that town in?
This is Florida. Look up Casadega, Florida.
Yeah, I never heard of it, but I would love to be there.
Interesting road trip. I'll just give you something to look into with your great grandfather. You might, you never know. If somebody else wrote a book and came across it, I know, like the famous or infamous Sullivan sisters.
Yeah, right. I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah, you never know what you come across if you actually just, instead of looking up just your grandfather, maybe dive into that movement or some of those communities that formed around the movement.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys ever come up with anything about Brindo, the famous mental telepathist or Frederick Sontag, let me know too, because I mean, I'm like the queen of the internet. I graduated with an internet degree, but I can't find anything about him, sadly enough. But, this kind of brings me back to my earlier conversation, like, in the spiritualist movement, how many times on record was there anything negative spoken about the Ouija board use? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, Pearl Curran, which one of you is familiar? Raise your hand. Pearl Curran, she was the famous author of several novels, but Pearl Curran didn't exist. She was a spirit communicating through somebody through a Ouija board.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Okay,
yep.
yeah.
2 novels, whole complete award-winning novels, written by a spirit through a Ouija board. And that's kind of like my dream come true, is to come up with another novel.
Well, you know what? I'm fascinated by that because of Maria Ospik, who I always mention from the Brill Society, this model from Germany, because Hitler, that's where they got the research for the UFOs. She actually got them 12 prototypes before they had actually started making them for Hitler. But this lady, Maria Ospik, was the real deal. She was so real that they even, we asked guests about it, some really, I would say top-notch guests about it. And the thing I want to ask you is Meadow and Jackie, and I hear that you play the violin, and also that you taught yourself the violin, but tell us about Jackie and Meadow, the 2 dogs.
Unfortunately, that information is very outdated. It's not your fault. So they were beloved purebred Jack Russells. They were wonderful. Meadow lived 16 years. Jackie lived to about 11. Right now we have Maybelline and Tater.
Okay.
Maybelline and Tater. Maybelline hailed from a rescue league in Tennessee, and Tater came from a rescue league in Texas. And they are our dogs.
Wow.
They're our babies.
I had a Jack Russell named Pica. Yeah.
Aww.
Pica.
As in the measurements, the pica?
No, my son named him Pica for
cool.
Pikachu.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. And Pica died of cancer. So
Yeah.
that was sad. When dogs go, that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Of course.
Yeah.
And Jack Russells are very special. I really do believe, they're a very special breed, and I really want another one. Ours were very calm and loving and lap dogs. From day one, we just did nothing but smother them with love and cuddle with them. So all of our dogs are cuddle bugs. They're not crazy and hyper, and they don't jump around. And
Are
you sure they're Jack Russells?
Really?
I have a
Yeah,
Shih Tzu. I have a Shih Tzu and a Chihuahua.
We like the chives. I had a Jack Russell Chihuahua blend, and she was my life, and she died of a heart murmur at 7 years old, and that destroyed me. It took a few years off my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's too much. I'm scared. I have cats, but I'm just scared after once you lose a few animals. The last dog I had, Gigi, she passed, and I still haven't recovered from that, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover. Well, Zandine sent me a video of a lion that was reunited with his owner from 10 years. They were separated for 10 years, and that lion just jumped on him, and I started bawling. I started crying like a baby. And then Zandine confessed that he cried too. And probably Phil cried, but he's not talking about it.
Yeah, losing a dog really sucks. If I had to make a list of pros and cons to owning a dog, the pros severely outweigh the cons. It sucks losing them, but you get to enjoy 7, 12, 18 years of love, unconditional love, and happiness with a dog. So I'm always the optimist, thinking that, you know what, we're going to get another dog.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Shannon, I got to ask you something. Okay, you're involved with Sci-Fi, A&E, Discovery, and Travel Channel. Are you like a producer or something?
No, I was actually a primary. So I was one of the 6 investigators on Ghost Hunters International, which is the spin-off of Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi. So basically, Jason and Grant recruited me to be part of an international team, which I was one of the 6, and we went, oh gosh, to probably about 8 different countries. I was part of 7 different episodes, and it was
Cool.
yeah, it was very, very cool. I saw a lot of stuff.
International shit.
It was a lot of work.
Well, I met one of the guys from Ghost Hunters International at a UFO conference. I can't think of his name, but he was sort of stocky. Oh God, like blondish hair. I have to look it up. I'll look it up and give you the information. But
The Paul Bradford?
Paul Bradford, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the only one I can really think of. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
Was the energy different from okay? Because when you think about, we live in America and you think about haunted locations. I mean, it's all in one country, right?
Yeah.
So, going to international locations, did you notice any fluctuation or difference in energy design or difference in fear or difference in, like that type of shit?
Yeah, you know why? It was all because of light and dark. It was all lighting conditions. So a lot of the castles we went to a 1,000-year-old monastery in Italy. A lot of the places we went to had no electricity. The monastery, 1,000 years old, just there's no electricity and nothing's lit up. So I will tell you that when you're in an unfamiliar place that you haven't even done a walkthrough, you don't do walkthroughs on these investigations. So the producer would be like, okay, you guys are going to go down there to the dormitory. And you're like, okay, where's the dormitory? You're shown where. And then, bam, you start investigating in complete darkness. So the one in Italy was 30,000 acres of rice plantation, rice fields, no electricity, no, light pollution from anywhere. So it is dark as F out there, and a lot of times you just can't even see your hand in front of your face. You can only tell when the cameras are on you because sometimes you get that glimpse of infrared. Like I said, it's a matter of lighting, and then, when you're in dark conditions all the time, it does make it a hell of a lot creepier.
Shannon,
I feel it.
traveling to international places, like I investigated the bridge over River Kwai in Thailand and
Wow.
Tower of London.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I've been in I was in the military 12 years plus. I've been to 59 countries, so I've visited a lot of places, and I was always gravitated towards haunted places. And you could, like, bridge over River Kwai. That's where there was torture, there was brutality, there was murders and everything else. As soon as you walked in there, you had a feeling of dread. Tower of London, same thing, torture, murder, everything.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel the dread.
When I was in the castle in Romania, we were in the torture chambers, and too, I was just trying not to make it psychosomatic on myself. If they hadn't told us that was the torture room, if we didn't see what we saw, the devices that were still there, I wouldn't have thought of it any different than any other room. But that's just my experience. I tried not to let the history of certain areas bother me. But yeah, I believe that though. I do believe that though. I know that fear you're talking about, and I know that dread you're talking about. I felt that feeling, it's kind of weird, but I had to film for Travel Channel for a TV show called My Horror Story, and they put us up for a couple of days in a hotel in the financial district of New York City. And so when you looked out our window on God knows what floor, way up high, like 30-something floor, we were literally overlooking the tower that they constructed after 9/11. And I hadn't felt that feeling in a long time until I looked out that window and felt that dread, because all I could think about when I looked down, which was only once, you know, was how so many souls had to make that jump down there. You know, I just wish they hadn't put me there. We actually left a day early because of it, because I couldn't take it anymore. Just couldn't stay there.
And you know, and so a lot of people don't even realize, like, certain places that you go to are haunted. I mean, the Eiffel Tower. I've been to the Eiffel Tower. That's haunted because you had a lot of people who jumped off the Eiffel Tower and committed suicide. Yeah, and close underground, you had the Paris catacombs.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
I'd love to see that.
yeah. I mean, it's like cool, but I worked with Penn and Teller, and they flew me down to Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They flew me down to Mexico, and I've worked with Ghost Adventures. God, I've given them so many cases, and I appeared on one of their episodes. But anyway. I did Penn and Teller. They flew me down to Mexico at the pyramids and stuff like that. We were getting EVPs right at the pyramids.
I wish I had brought my recorder back in '93 when I was out there. That's cool. Were you in Chichen Itza?
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to do some EVPs at the cenotes too, because that's where all the human sacrifices were.
Yeah.
But you know, you can't get quite down there. We lost our other guest.
Yeah, we lost Sandine. Hopefully he'll rejoin us.
Yeah, it's very, very cool experiences for you. Yeah, I definitely wish I could have been in some of those locations you were.
Hey, also too, you like to use the metal detector. So what's the most interesting thing you found?
My own backyard. So I've been all over locally. I found just about everything, but I had a bucket list item. So one of the items was a chrono bell, which is a sleigh bell off of, you know, literally a sleigh bell from horses. When the farmers had horses back in the day, they wore the bells. I have found several of them. In fact, some of them like 30, 40 miles away. I found one in my backyard by a certain company, and I found another bell from that same company in another state, underground. And to a lot of people, that's a bucket list item. I had another bucket list item. So my girlfriend and I were metal detecting my own yard. So my house was built in 1886. It was an old farm, 26 acres here. And our barn housed draft horses. And we still have some of the original really